I'll tell you what, some people just know how to provide service and live in a community that cares, like Tony Skole, the head coach at the Citadel, who was a two-sport athlete at the Citadel. He's a football player as well, but he's a really good baseball coach. Tony and Coach, thank you for being with us.
Debbie, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here, just to help support you and support this wonderful cause. But couldn't be more honored to be able to visit with you this morning.
Look, Tony, you from the very beginning, you've been supportive. You have, written us a check and sent some money in for Special Olympics. I know it's something that's important to you. You understand as an athlete, the free throws aren't really, what it's about. It's just a vehicle to share the message. Why did you want to get involved so early when this crazy idea came around?
Well, I think number one, first and foremost, Debbie, I am so much respect for what you do and what you represent, and what you've done for just athletics your entire career. So when I was fortunate enough to meet you early in my return to Charleston, and became aware of this cause, it was something that I wanted to get involved with. When I was at ETSU, I was at ETSU, East Tennessee State, there for 18 years. And in the Tri-Cities area up there, they had a huge Special Olympics event every year in the Mini Dome. And it was something that my team and myself got involved in very early in my career there. And honestly, it became one of my most favorite days of the year. I'd never experienced it before, but just being around those young people, seeing the joy, the happiness, the elation on those young people's faces was something that I'll never forget. And what really was amazing, I think, is how it transcended not just to me, but to my athletes that were helping there and the other athletes that were working that event. It is just such a special thing, and something I'll always want to be a part of.
I always think there's something unique and special about the Citadel. Obviously, it's a rigorous curriculum to be able to get through, and then you add an athlete on top of it, and that's extra challenges. And to try to keep up with the culture and the identity of Citadel. And then you were a two-sport athlete. I don't know many that have done that at the Citadel. How'd you do that, first of all, Tony? How did you manage all the requirements of being a cadet as well as being an athlete?
Well, kids athletes nowadays at the Division I level, especially, time management is such a huge thing. And for me, honestly, I came here on a football scholarship with opportunity to play baseball. And it's just, just like when you're younger, you go from one sport, one season to the other. And that's how I always approached it. Did it affect my academics? Yes, probably a little bit, but my academics would have been affected if I didn't do both either way. So, but no, it was just something that you just did. And honestly, the beauty of playing baseball in the spring is you don't have to go through spring football. So that was obviously an added bonus as well.
That's a pretty good plan. I like that. I like that a lot. So your baseball team, you've been a baseball coach in the game for more than 25 years. What is the love of the game that keeps you coming back?
Oh gosh, it's it's just it's a game that parallels life. There's so many life lessons that you learn in competing in the sport of baseball. You deal with so much adversity and so much failure. It's a game of failure where you can fail 7 out of 10 times and be a Hall of Famer in this sport. So you really have to deal with how do you handle those failure. We talk to our kids about response. It's a huge word. It's a pillar of our program. How do you respond when things don't go your way? Because you can do everything right in baseball and not get the outcome that you want. So you really have to get your kids to believe in the process, believe in the journey, and understand that sometimes you're not going to get the outcome. You can make the perfect pitch to the right spot, the right speed, the right location, and they still hit it where nobody's playing and it falls in for a base hit. So you just have to continually to stay positive, get to the next play, get to the next pitch, and really control how you respond to things, especially when they don't go your way.
I love that, the word response. Earlier, we had a guest on 24 Hours, Nothing But Net. It was Matt Doherty, the great North Carolina national champion and former coach at multiple D1 schools. And now he's a leadership coach. And the first thing he leads with in conversation is vulnerability and the ability to overcome failure. When you say response, it's a learned trait, right? It's a habit, just like anything else, that you have to learn how to pull yourself up if things didn't go your way. how do you get your guys to believe that they can respond to the next?
Well, it's not easy. It's not easy, especially with these young athletes that we deal with, because they haven't had to deal with a lot of failure in their careers up to this point. And we just try to pound in their head that this is going to be a word and an action that you're going to have to do to be successful in the rest of your life, no matter what you're doing in athletics or just in the civilian world, whatever it may be. You're going to have to respond to certain situations in the correct manner, and if you don't, you're going to continue to struggle, and things will continue to add up in a negative way for you. So it's something that we literally talk about every day. And it's something that, as a coach, when you have certain pillars and things you believe in, you can never ever get tired of letting these guys hear it, and just understanding that you got to continue to pound home that message, because nowadays kids, they're hearing messages from all other directions and numerous other avenues. So you have to be really diligent in what you're trying to get across, as for myself, trying to build and mold these young men.
A lot of times the fear of failing involves the fear of taking a risk. Like if you're really good at something and you do it really well, and somebody asks you to do something a little bit different or a little bit more, sometimes kids are afraid to try because they don't want to fail. They haven't been put in that position before. What do you do with your guys to push them to, beyond the point of believing that, for me, it was like, I don't know if I can run one more sprint, but yet you get on the line and coach blows the whistle and you go and you push yourself beyond the pain of the physical to get past that to the mental side of it. How do you get to that mental side?
Well, it's not easy, but I think it's something you have to be persistent with. And basically, I believe that sort of relates to just kids have to learn to be uncomfortable. Young people, well, old people, none of us would like to be uncomfortable. But when you can learn to be uncomfortable and deal with it, and you realize, oh my gosh, this extra sprint or me failing in this position, it's not the end of the world. I can get through this. I can survive. I can respond the right way and get to the next player, the next sprint, or whatever it may be, the next challenge you may have. I just think you constantly have to continue to challenge these young people and keep them, and just understand that it's okay to be tired. It's okay to be uncomfortable. The old saying, fatigue makes cowards of us all. And that'll never go out of style, that quote, because it does. Once we get a little bit uncomfortable, the mind tells us to stop. So it's with these young kids nowadays, and especially in this environment at the Citadel, our guys are uncomfortable, especially their first year here. You're uncomfortable a lot of the time here. You're getting up early, you're in a uniform, it's hot in Charleston, you've got to be at certain places at certain times, you're moving at a rapid pace. So there's a lot of discomfort here, and you've got to learn to deal with it. And once you learn that it's not going to be the end of the world, it will allow you to take those chances, to take those risks, and sort of be on the edge a little bit.
In order to have all the success that you've had, Tony, it's a compilation of multiple experiences, right? Good and bad, that help you keep advancing. I always think of the Citadel, and every time I drive by there, the word service always comes to my mind, because there's so many ways that the cadets serve in so many different capacities, especially after they leave. How does baseball add to that experience for service?
Well, I think it's part of it. We like to have our kids visit local elementary schools in our area. We're real close to the Children's Hospital here at MUSC, which is just an amazing place. Yeah. So we have some amazing young people in our program, and we want to get them around other young people, obviously, in our community. So, I try to get our kids to understand that no matter what kind of success you may have in life, you're never going to do it on your own. You must have the help of others. And I think that's a lesson that I want our guys to learn at this stage in their life. And if you can help enough people achieve their goals and be successful, in return, you're going to be successful. It's the karma. It's the way the world works. So we want to have that service mentality. And we constantly talking about our guys making others better, and just having that kind and compassionate heart of being willing to help others. I think that's just so important, and something that in our society with young people, it's a message that we've got to drive home.
You've been in the business a long time. You've been coaching and mentoring young men for a long time. What would you tell your younger self? Because the game is so different now. And I hear a lot of young people that want to go into coaching, but also understand that the rigors of the climate, the way college sports has evolved recently. What would you tell your younger self about what you need to do to be prepared for what's coming up?
Well, I tell you, sometimes we fall into the rabbit hole of coaching, especially in our younger years, and I definitely did it. My work-life balance was not great, and it probably still isn't. Bless my heart, bless my wife's heart, for because I'm just not home very often. It's difficult. I think early in my career, you just. I think I heard Buzz Peterson say this. We when we tie our identity to what we do instead of who we are, that's not a good place to be in. So I think as coaches, wins and losses are so important, and we put so much emphasis and live it and eat it, sleep it every single day. But it's not. When you can understand that it's the impact that you're having on young people, the molding of these young people's lives, the impact that you're going to have on their futures to ensure that they're going to be successful. That's what it's all about. And athletics is just a tool for that. But the competitor and all of us that have been involved in athletics, sometimes it takes over. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just the work-life balance. I would tell young coaches, make sure you just don't let coaching, give you a reason not to live. Because there's so many times where I didn't participate in maybe family outings or dinners or things like that, because I felt like I needed to be in the office watching tape or at a game recruiting. And I look back at it and I was like, I probably made a poor decision there.
I think we've all been there, those that have been around long enough, right, to be able to experience the way sport has changed in our society. It used to be the outlet, where there was no politics, nothing involved. It was just play, compete, try to beat, you know, that opponent as badly as you can, and then go on to the next one. But today, it's a different, challenging time. And I just never believe the old school value is going to ever be old school about the discipline and execution. I think those are things that you have to be able to think about every day. I mean, you got to be able to still think about those. How does a tough love come in, Tony?
Well, it's different nowadays, obviously, than we were growing up. I was telling a coach just this past weekend, Elliot Avon, actually, at
Oh,
NC State. We were there this weekend. Elliot's a close friend, but you have to. I find it with this generation of athlete, you have to sometimes make them tougher without them knowing you're doing it, and you have to have some ingenuity behind it. Um, you can't beat them to death anymore like our coaches used to do, but you have to instill that toughness. So you have to be intelligent about it, but you have to find new and innovative ways to do that. But you're right, athletics has changed, and it continues to change, and it will always change. So as coaches, that's a challenge, to just keep adapting and trying to stay one step ahead of it.
we're supposed to be the adults in the room with perspective, right? But that doesn't change our competitive desire to keep winning and to grind it out, right? I know you're a grinder.
Yeah, it is. This profession sometimes, the wins, when you win a game, you feel great, and there's no doubt about it, and you just can't wait to get to the next one. You're just, all right, who do we got next? But when you lose, you don't sleep, you don't eat, you're grouchy, and it just, there's never a balance. And as I've gotten older, I've really, really tried to enjoy the wins at the same level as the losses hurt, if that makes sense. So it's tough. It's tough, but I think that's part of it. All coaches, you have such a passion for the sport that you coach and for the young people that you're around. It's just it's in our DNA to grind and grind till we get the results that we want.
Well, I know that any young man that has chosen the Citadel to play baseball for you is going to be a young man that is going to be a great addition to the community that they live in, and is going to have a wonderful family, and will do things the right way, because that's what I know about the Citadel, and that's what I know about you, Tony. And I'm so grateful that we've become fast friends through Special Olympics to be able to advance that population in our own community. And I'm so grateful for your time.
Well, Debbie, thank you so much. I'm a huge fan, a great admirer of you and your family. And I'm blessed to be that we live in the same community, and I'll always be there to help, and we'll always continue to support Special Olympics and your cause. So thank you for what you do. And I think it's just an amazing event. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's Tony Skole, the head baseball coach at the Citadel. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Debbie.